Courtney stumbled as Walter helped her over a stretch of loose stone. Wincing, she leaned against him even more. Under the escort of several smaller dragons, they made their way towards the gates. There, Kern stared down at the path from the same shelf Kira had used. Both Tyler and Anwen were sitting against the wall as if someone had just tossed them there.
They're not dead, are they?
Walter hobbled forward, favoring his left leg as they climbed the last stretch of the path. He let out a weary sigh of relief.
No, they're alive,
he confirmed as he leaned against the enclosing stone.
They did it.
Tyler looked up from holding Anwen and gave half a smile.
Looks like you survived, old duffer,
he commented with affection. Walter puffed up his chest as Courtney hung on. He was taller than her, and she had to stand on tiptoes to not fall over.
Didn't I tell you once? Nothing's gonna bring me down that easy. I'm a survivor, remember? Though, I will want some form of repayment by way of certain kinds of goodies. If you know what I mean.
He winked. Looking around, Courtney couldn't help but feel something was missing. Then it hit her.
Where's Margot?
She risked causing more pain by turning to look behind her.
Margot's dead,
Tyler said bluntly.
Daphne's twin, Kira. No, that revenant killed her. And Madame Millard. The woman tried to save Margot at the last moment but failed. I'd like to think she wasn't as bad as she pretended. The last act proves it.
Kern transformed as he came down to join them, wearing white robes that were somewhat torn. His face was filled with compassion as he looked on the small group.
You have all done well.
He smiled.
I am sorry that lives were sacrificed to bring us to this point. I would have avoided it, if at all possible.
He walked over to Courtney and gently touched her shoulder. She felt as though the pain had melted away under his soft probing.
The damage is not as bad as it feels,
he told her.
With a few days it will be fully mended. I will set it to mending, but you must let nature take its course.
Turning to Walter, Kern looked a bit more stern.
It took quite a toll on my city with your little explosions,
he admonished.
And many of the mage lines were injured or killed. But,
and he smiled,
I am happy to report that those who remain have backed down and are waiting to learn their fate. Many of my kinsmen are seeing to their wounded.
The Nurrim left Walter's side and paced over to where Tyler and Anwen sat. He shook his head as he surveyed them.
Damon,
he tisked.
You were always the one known for level-headed behavior and wise judgment, and yet you have done that which should not have been done. Do you understand the depths of your transgression?
Bracing himself, Tyler nodded.
I accept full responsibility for my actions,
he replied.
Anwen had no part in my decision. As such, please do not punish her.
Anwen looked up in surprise, not sure she understood what was going on.
No,
she protested.
Tyler didn't do anything wrong. He saved my life more times than I can count. If you must punish someone, punish me.
Tyler looked back at Anwen, caressing her face with one finger.
You don't know what you're saying, Anwen. You have no idea the taboo I've committed.
She pushed his hand away.
Yes, I do. I know what you did for me back in the mountain. I saw it as I sat here, writhing in agony from the soul scars Daphne gave me. You gave me part of your soul. Maybe I don't know what all of that means, but what I do know is you're now a part of me. And by extension, I'm a part of you. What happens to one should happen to both. Don't you agree?
Courtney all but stumbled forward in her surprise.
Wait, what?
She stared at Tyler like he was insane.
You didn't, did you? But when?
She tried to think back, and then it hit her. She gasped as she covered her mouth with one hand.
Back in the mountain. That's when...
Yes,
Tyler confirmed.
When I found Anwen, she was already almost dead. In fact, she died in my arms. But I couldn't accept that. There was still too much for her to do, or so I told myself. But to be honest, I did it for me. I gave her a part of my soul because I wanted her to live.
Kern raised one eyebrow as he contemplated the couple in front of him, his hands remaining folded in front of him.
I see. In that case, you have passed the test. It is rare to see such devotion. Yes, there are many who say they would give their lives to another, but few would actually attempt to do so, forbidden or not. I pass no judgment upon you.
Tyler bowed his head, resisting the urge to celebrate the reprieve.
I thank you, my Lord Nurrim.
At that moment, another dragon walked up the pathway, also in mortal form.
Ah, Callum,
Kern called out as he turned towards the newcomer.
What have you to report?
The older male turned to his leader, ignoring Tyler and Anwen.
The mages have surrendered completely. They are gathered in the main courtyard of the city. or what is left of it. The others await your orders regarding their judgment.
Nodding, Kern fingered his long white beard.
I see. Thank you.
Callum's eyes glinted as he frowned.
If you'd like my opinion, I suggest they be destroyed for their transgressions. It is a fit punishment for turning against us.
Courtney gasped as Walter moved forward.
Now wait just a minute now.
The veteran protested.
What you're suggesting is genocide. Not everyone down there knew what they were doing. They were never taught anything different than what they know. You can't just condemn them because of how they were brought up. It's not fair.
Callum eyed Walter with disdain.
What would a mortal know about fairness? You are merely an insect in our path. It would be quite easy to squash you where you stand.
That's enough.
Tyler said as he stood. He rested a hand briefly on Anwen's shoulder, giving her a light squeeze.
Just because you had a bad experience in the past does not mean you need to take it out on those around you. It's just as Walter said. These mages were never brought up to believe or know anything outside of what the Circle taught them.
He glanced briefly at Courtney.
A rare few thought to question their ways. Judging them based on their upbringing and the beliefs handed down to them by their parents is not just. Have you no mercy in your heart?
Before the other dragon could retaliate, Anwen stood. Her legs were a bit shaky, but she placed herself between the two immortals.
I do not excuse the events of what happened,
She began.
but I do know that Tyler and Walter are right. If you are too foolish to see that, I feel sorry for you. I don't know what your problem is, but it can't really be with these people. After all, you've been asleep for hundreds of years, long before they were even born.
The Nurrim smiled at his granddaughter's nerve.
Peace.
He soothed.
There are other matters that are more important. The events of today will not go unnoticed.
He glanced around at the ruins about them, reminding them of recent events.
With the help of this fair little dragon,
Kern nodded to Anwen.
we were able to dispatch a revenant. The others will not take too kindly to that. It would be wise for us to expect retaliation, in one form or another.
The small party looked around as Kern's voice rose on the last sentence. Around them, many dragons had come to witness the events. They clung to the crags around the path, leaving the walkway clear to those in mortal form. Their massive wings filled the air as they reached towards the heavens. Walter shifted a bit uncomfortably at the amount of dragons surrounding them.
I agree.
Tyler said as he looked pointedly at his brother.
With the fall of the Revenant once known by another name, we have likely angered the others. We should prepare for the time when they come, and we will need every hand that we can get to help us.
The other dragons raised their voices in affirmation, their bugles filling the air. Turning towards Anwen, the Nurrim bowed.
As Master Keeper of the realm of Tarragon, I ask that you would open the doors one more time. Anwen Kada Porter.
Anwen gulped as she looked into the golden eyes of the Master Dragon.
Sure.
She bent down to pick up the crystal sword. It shrank back into a key the moment her hand touched the winged guard. Walking solemnly, she approached the closed gates as the others moved out of the way to let her pass. As she raised the key to the keyhole, Kern turned to face the gathered masses. His vast sleeves trailed as he raised his hands into the air.
Under the light of the Mage Moon, let the doors to Tarragon be opened once more. Let this signify the ending and beginning of a new era.
Anwen inserted the key and turned it to the rumbling of many dragon voices, bugling in triumph.